Roll call.
Mayor Chilson.
Here.
Alderman Ron Jertson.
Here.
Alderperson Kim Smith.
Here.
Fred Bueller. Jared Holter is also here.
Okay, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So move.
Motion made by Councilperson Jertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jared. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Public input. Anyone wishing to give public input, please step to the podium, give your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Second call. Anyone wishing to give public input? Third and final call. Anyone wishing to give public input? That portion is now closed. Consideration, possible action on the following items. Election of the chair and the vice chair. We will take them one at a time. Do we have nominations for the chair?
I nominate Joe Chilson.
Are there any other nominations for the chair? Are there any other nominations for the chair? Are there any other nominations for the chair? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? The ayes have it. Nomination for vice chair. Excuse me, Fred? Ron, okay.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to nominate Alder Jertson. Discussion? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair. Review and consideration of the parking and travel restrictions along Horman Boulevard. Jared?
Thank you, Your Honor. This has come about from the, actually, we had an accident out in this area, and the city attorney's office could not prosecute or do anything. There's no law in the books in this area. So what we did, we'll go back here to the Boulevard area. So what happened, this is, if you look at Horman Boulevard, there's an upper and a lower with a grass median in between. It's probably one of the few areas in the city. It's actually horseshoe shaped, about 300 feet long. If you look, the upper section on the east is a little bit higher in elevation than the lower section. So where that red SUV is higher in elevation on the east side. Then on the west side, it's a little bit lower. So what happened in this instance is you can see where the male person is in this picture, and you can see there's a blue truck parked on the side of the roadway. The roadway is is it narrow? Okay, so the roadway where you see it there is 16 to 18 feet wide on each side. So what someone did is they tried to pass the mail truck by going northbound when the mail truck was there. You can see their tracks in the snow. They actually slid into the mail truck. So when we looked at this and what we thought the way the current patterns are, you can see that people are parking on the house side of the area. When we come back with staff, we looked at this and we recommended instituting no parking along all of the median area, which is this area here, and then instituting a one-way street that would come in on the east side, proceeding northbound, going around, and then coming put a do not enter sign, one-way sign, this becomes one-way traffic. Currently, the way this is set up out here, there's no law that says that you cannot go northbound on the lower section of roadway. I would expect that common sense would tell you you wouldn't drive through the snow on the slope, but there are times that we have to clarify things on the route you have to take. So, just looking for some direction here. We could typically a lot of these parking type situations, we do invite the adjoining residents to come in at the next Board of Public Works meeting if you feel we should do that. Or if you feel we shouldn't do anything, we could just leave it be. This is a low-volume traffic area. I mean, there's only maybe 7 or 8 driveways on this whole stretch here, but just looking for some direction.
Alderman Gertson?
We probably got 15 vehicles that drive around that horseshoe a day.
Oh, maybe a few more than that.
It's pretty
8
much,
homes, 7, 8 trips a day. Oh, actually, well, Kevin, we reconstructed this street 2 years ago, 16, and Kevin said he remembers there's a daycare at the one end of it, so
Okay.
there's probably a few vehicles from that. But even just typically, if you had eight homes and 9 vehicles per day on average, so there's anywhere from 50 to 70 vehicles, but that's pretty low volume.
Alder Smith?
Did you, so the neighbors haven't been notified that this has even been?
No, typically I'll bring something like this forward, see if the Board of Public Works wants to proceed, and then we'd send out letters to have them come into the next meeting. This is enough of a change where I think they should be informed, depending on what parking restrictions we're going to do. Sometimes it's kind of a decision to be made, but I would recommend that we would invite them in for this one.
I guess I'd like input from the neighbors, what they prefer. And I guess if nobody shows up, then we don't need to do anything, probably.
I make a motion that we bring the neighbors in for public input.
Motion made by Alder Gertson. I'll second that. To bring it to public hearing. And seconded by Finance Director Bueller. Discussion? No discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Item 6, review and consideration of the parking restrictions on Second Avenue and Main Street and alley between Second Avenue and Third Avenue south of Main Street. Jared?
I've included some maps in your handout tonight. I do have them on the screen also. We are looking at the downtown area. This is an aerial picture of the downtown area, and you can see where the new David Ray's restaurant is, Sue Colby Salon, Dell's Auto, Colvin Dentist, a variety of areas here. Going to go to another picture we have. What we're seeing with the continued increased use of parking in the downtown area with the Great River Landing, David Ray's, just increased usage in the area. We had actually looked at last month whether we should provide handicap parking down in this area, and the Board of Public Works voted to not approve any handicap parking. But a couple other issues have come out. One of them is at the corner of State Trunk Highway 35, which is Second Avenue, and Main Street. Right at the radiuses here, we've found that we have people parking very close to the end of the radius. 2 things happen. We are fortunate we do have a striped bicycle facility here that gives a little bit of room between the travel lane, but when the MTU bus tries to make the corner or a semi, they do come in conflict with this parking stall. Also on the right-hand turn movements, because we've got the protected or the striped left turn lane and the right turn lane, actually this movement over here, in talking to Police Chief Miller, also comes into conflict at times too. Not as bad as this one, but this one on the north side of Main Street also comes in conflict. For this area, staff is recommending instituting no parking 15 feet in from the end of radius. For this area, we would probably paint down here this summer, but we'd also put up signage for that, if that would move forward. The second part of this is the alley. You can see the alley right here. This is the new David Ray's restaurant. The alley does go through from Main Street to Irvin Street, but part of what we have in this area, I'm going to go back to the picture behind this, is you can see the Sue Colvey facility right here. David Ray's is occupying this site. Sue Colvey's salon's lot is set up for one-way traffic, so coming off of Third Avenue, that traffic proceeds into angled parking stalls in this area, and the only way out is to proceed out the alley. So what we're seeing is, at times, there are deliveries. Every once in a while, somebody will park and run inside. We're having a lot of conflict with this area with the people trying to get out of Sue Colvey's lot. So I would like to recommend that we institute 100 feet of no parking, stopping, or standing. So that way that it's not only no parking, but you can't even leave a vehicle there, you can't let it run. There's no stopping in this area. That would help us with the vehicle traffic coming out of Sue Coley's salon, ensuring she has access. This would give us a way to sign it and be able to enforce a ordinance on it. And with that, I'll offer for public comment.
Alder Smith?
Where does David Ray's take their delivery? Is it on
They
the
take
side
their
or is it in the back?
they take their deliveries at this back door right now. We have informed them that if they use this part of the alley, we do not have a problem unless some problem would happen that we don't see presently. If they would take their deliveries south of this area in the alley, they really aren't, there's no other accesses to the alley in the back. So they would allow the patrons at Sue Colvey's to leave via this access. The problem is they take the easiest route they can. They come in from the south end of the alley, drive in, park the back of the truck right next to the door, which is the closest point, and then block the alley.
But is there really a way for them to turn around? Is the alley one way going out?
No,
or-
the alley's bi-directional, so they can come in from Main Street, go down, and then exit on Irvin Street. Part of the problem is if they do that, it's easier for them to get out on Main Street than Irvin Street. But there's really no reason that a semi, straight cab truck or anything would not be able to get out or in either end. Once again, this has not been brought to the public. You could have a public hearing again. We did, when we brought we did send out a letter for the downtown handicap parking to all the downtown businesses. The only business owner that showed up was Sue Colvey, and she was adamant. I don't think she had as much of an opinion about the handicap parking as this parking problem when she was giving her public comment.
Can you point on that map? I did read the minutes, but where was the handicap parking proposed to? Was it right behind where you want?
We had it proposed, at that time, we had kind of arbitrarily, but we had proposed one in front of David Ray's and kind of one in front of Dell's, just to kind of spread it out, so it wasn't all in one location.
Okay, Alder Jurtson?
All this stuff was foreseen and discussed as this was unfolding. These problems that we got with David Ray down there were discussed in detail. I would think that it would be in his best interest to try to get his delivery people to deliver. The option is we're going to have a public meeting, and that's what's going to happen anyways. I don't understand why he's bucking that. Work with him.
I did talk to the owner-operator of David Ray's, sent them multiple emails. I actually stopped down there a week and a half ago when the delivery truck was parked in the alley, waiting for someone to open David Ray's, and he was parked the wrong way, or blocking the alley. And he goes, well, I only deliver on Mondays. Somebody else delivers on Tuesdays, somebody else delivers on Wednesdays. And without the signage there, I think it's just gonna be it's going to be an enforcement thing for the police department too, but I think it happens usually at approximately the same time every day. And if one of those drivers gets a $50 ticket for not parking properly, I think that's going to probably get the point across more so than me going out there and saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this.
Jared, what's the name of the company?
It was,
Is it Cisco,
yeah,
Reinhardt?
it's one of them. Can't think of it. I think it was Cisco, but I'm not positive. It's not just those, it's not just them neither. It's the beer delivery, the liquor delivery. We've got pictures of various different deliveries that have been,
Okay,
it's a little better now. They have been making attempts to get better. It's better than it was when they first opened, but I think you need to have the signage in this location to really drive it home, and then continue to have it happen. Plus, there's just the oddball, park in the alley to drop off their mom or something, and they're going in the restaurant, and they just sit there. They shouldn't really be stopping in the alley.
Mr. Finance Director.
Back to Highway 35, the street didn't shrink, and so that problem, if it's been there this whole time, and nobody's complained.
Correct. It has been there before, and I have noticed vehicles parked, especially in this location previously, but there wasn't as high a demand for parking in the downtown area, so we didn't see it parked full all the time. Where now, it's pretty much parked full all the time.
So it's more of an enforcement issue.
We need to have the ordinance on the books so we can enforce it. Right now, it's a legal parking spot.
Yeah, but isn't that approximately 12 feet from the intersection? There's already no parking, stopping, and standing?
Not at this corner. You can park from the end of Radius in. You got to be 5 feet from a driveway. But as far as I know, we don't have any ordinance on the intersection beyond the end of Radius. If you park down into the Radius, my pointer here, if you park down into the Radius or into the crosswalk, then you'd be in violation. But this is a legal parking spot here.
Well, there is a sign there that says no parking, and the numerous times that I've gone through, people are parking on what I call below the sign.
That sign, I looked at it the other day. It's like
No
2
parking,
a-
2 a.m. to 6
2
a.m.
a.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that.
It's got a time, yeah, so nobody parks 24 hours. Sorry, Fred, I didn't.
Alder Jurtson?
We're already fighting a parking issue downtown. That's only gonna get worse. Take 2 parkings away, that problem goes someplace else.
I agree, parking is at a premium in our downtown, which is hopefully a good thing.
I guess the way I see that is you fix it there and it creates something else somewhere else. It's not a high-speed issue. It's not gonna be a traffic accident issue. It's an inconvenience for the bus drivers, and they're pretty handy drivers, and I'm thinking they can, the semi drivers, I would be more worried about guys that are not regularly on that street more than anything, swinging it too tight, but if they do hit something, it's gonna be a bumper cover.
It's like playing whack-a-mole. You hit it here and it pops up someplace else.
We were talking about an issue like this last meeting, where we got low-speed incidents, and it's not an injury deal.
Well,
I'm gonna make a motion that we go to a public meeting on this also, get the public input.
motion by Alder Jurtson to take it to public hearing. Seconded by Finance Director Bueller. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Excuse me. Item 7, review and consideration of East Main Street traffic speed study, including roadway lane configurations. Jared?
In your packet tonight, I've got a traffic study that was performed by Short Elliott Hendrickson, SEH. I'm gonna go through quite a bit of the report here. It was pretty thorough. We actually had a couple things added here, but I'm just gonna start at the beginning of the report. So the first item that they went over was the spot speed study. With the spot speed study, if you go down to, they had 2 different spots where they went out with radar took a radar reading of a minimum of 100 cars. They were close to 120, I think, each way. So if you go to the first page at Site 1, basically the 85th percentile speed was 39.3 westbound, 38.1 eastbound, and Site 2 was 38.4 and 38.5. So you can actually see that the 85th percentile, which is typically used to set a speed limit per the Wisconsin DOT FDM manual, is actually below the 40 miles per hour that is currently posted. That was one of the things that came up as part of this study that we wanted to go forward. The next page, we actually went through traffic counts. We had traffic counts performed on the site. If you look, there's a map, just the first map beyond the report. You can see that Site 1 was the speed study and traffic site where the traffic was picked up right just west of the Meadowwood subdivision. That's actually in the town of Madera. That site had approximately 9,300 cars average daily traffic per day. Site 2 was right behind the Home Depot, which would be east of the entrance to Mendoza Drive and the Elmwood Hills subdivision. The traffic dropped to 6,300 at that point. So there's still good traffic volumes out there, but they're not overly, they're not up in the range that they are down by Cool Golf Bowl on East Main. A lot of the traffic that comes down East Main splits, goes down continues down East Main toward Highway 16, but a very large chunk of it does turn and go down Theater Road. With that in your report, if you go on to page 2, continue on to what's considered lane configuration. So once we received those traffic numbers, we started looking at it and authorized SEH to look at lane configurations of what we should have, because right now, currently, we have a 4-lane lane configuration that is shown on the report, or what's presently there. So generally, roadway level of service is controlled by intersections. So that's one of the things they pointed out, is that generally it's the intersections that control the level of service, not really the through traffic that's going down the roadway. In the end of the first paragraph, based on controlled volumes, East Main Street is a suitable location for a lane reduction between the signalized intersections of Theater Road and Marketplace. So this is what we tasked them with looking at. The second paragraph I'll go through. Wisconsin DOT provides guidance on the viability of converting 4-lane undivided roadways to 3-lane, 2-way left turn lane, or a twiddle roadway, also known as a road diet. First of all, 2-way left turn lanes remove left turning vehicles from through lanes, which can reduce delay or through vehicles. Second, can lead to reduction in rear end sideswipe collisions. Further, 2-way left turn lanes provide spatial separation between opposing lanes of traffic, which can lead to reduction in head-on collisions. And also, 2-way left turn lanes can function as a safety lane for emergency vehicles. One of the other things that's not pointed out in the report is the fact that along this section, it's kind of a bottleneck with the sidewalk pedestrian system. There is a narrow boulevard of approximately 3 feet between the sidewalk and the curb lane is in relative close proximity to the pedestrian facility or the sidewalk. So that's one of the comments that I get in this section of roadway. Going down to the fourth paragraph, the DOT gives guidance that you can use a 2-way left turn lane, 3-lane configuration for 15,000 to 17,000 cars. It would also provide traffic calming. One of the things this would do is if we went to 3 lanes instead of 4 with the center turn lane, it would not allow anyone to pass anyone on this roadway. So we tasked SEH with looking at 3 lanes versus 4, went through some of the attributes of what a 3-lane could be. It would slow traffic, provide for left turns. Why don't you go back to the laptop? So just on to clarify what this would be on this cross-section, you have the current sidewalk, 3-foot boulevard. Currently there are 4 11-foot travel lanes. With the new configuration, if you went to a 3-lane roadway, you'd have a center 14-foot left turn lane and a 1 through lane each way at 11 feet. Just to give an idea, I had them draw this up. So what we're at here is Theater Road, Eagle Bluff Court, and also with East Main Street. Currently, there's a left, a right, and 2 through lanes when you're coming eastbound along East Main Street. This, if this was proposal would move forward, you'd throw it down in front of the Pet Me Scratch Me driveway in the DOT allotted 200-foot distance, and it would go to one lane. There's a variety of pictures along here. This is kind of a section moving on down the roadway. Then you get down to, this is the entrance to Meadowwood that goes into the Meadowwood subdivision. This is the entrance into Elmwood Hills and Marketplace. We'd actually have a left turn bay. And then it would continue on down toward down to the intersection of Marketplace. Okay, so with that, you know, we thought good engineering practice, we should go and look at that as an engineering alternative. Once we received the report back, we looked at the report. A couple of things that I'd point out in looking at this is that we really don't have any accident history on this section of roadway. At the end of the report, they go through the crash analysis, and currently we have 80.85 crashes per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. The crash analysis statewide average is 356 crashes per million miles traveled. So we're well below the state average. So we don't really have a crash problem currently on the roadway. Part of when I looked at this, it would be somewhat confusing to the public to go from 2 lanes along East Main Street on the west side of Theater Road down to 1 through lane and then throwing back out at the Marketplace intersection, Marco Road, back to 2 lanes. So with that, I think there's some benefits to this if we wanted to go through with it. Part of the reason we did this study was because of citizen concerns that came about. We also moved forward with this possible 3-lane configuration because we'll be paving this road hopefully in June and July. So we thought it was prudent that if we would move forward with this, we need to do it before the paving gets finished so we could stripe it properly. This is the opportune time that we would have, we were going to stripe it anyway. It would be the time to go move forward with it. I guess with that, we'll go to a couple other areas. We'll get down to the end of the recommendations, and then I'll give you some further insights here. But moving on, truck analysis, that's another thing we had the consultant look at. Currently, there's approximately 2% trucks that's using it, so on the heavier section where you have over 9,000 cars per day, that's only 200 trucks per day. That could be changed if there was some hauling operation or large timber sale or something, but typically, I just point out that the consultant points out here, balancing the needs of commerce and trucking industry with a desire to minimize impact to trucks on roadways and sensitive land uses. And also, as shown, heavy vehicles account for less than 2% of the traffic volume during time period your traffic was collected. The percentage indicates low truck usage. So to the bottom of the 3rd page, also due to accessibility of the interstate in this area, external to external truck trips are likely not using East Main Street. Most of these truck traffic in this area is expected to be internal to external trips, meaning it's deliveries to Home Depot, deliveries to Walmart, deliveries to various items in there. So we went over the crash analysis. So then we get down to basically the recommendations. There's 3 bullet point recommendations that the consultant came forward with. The first would be that based upon the 85th percentile speed, would be to alter the speed limit to 35 miles an hour. I do concur with this. If you go along this roadway, I think the 35 would fit. I do talk to citizens, and the citizens that use this roadway that walk along it, pedestrian-wise, especially with the access to Eagle Bluff School from the Elmwood Hills subdivision, would like to see it 25 miles an hour. I think part of the when you're setting a speed limit, though, is what is prudent with what cross-section you have and what is the apparent speed that you feel you should be traveling. With the limited amount of access points along this route, I think 25 would hinder too much. It would become a speed trap. I mean, I think it would really become a area that would be very hard to enforce. It would be a constant enforcement action by the police department. Second bullet point is recommend to keep East Main Street as part of the city's designated truck route. I would also recommend that we do that, just leave the truck route on this section of roadway. I think the low percentage of trucks does not warrant us changing it. I think with the amount of external trips, I think the existing truck route should be fine. We can always revisit that and take a count again in a year and see if it changes or something like that. But I think at this time, it'd be good to follow the recommendation to have the truck route stay. Third recommendation, it is recommended to restripe East Main Street from 4 travel lanes to 2 with a 2-way left turn lane. No changes to be made at the lane configurations of the signalized intersections without additional analysis. I guess this is the one where, looking at it with what we've got today, with the low crash volume that we've found, with the configuration currently of both intersections having 4 lanes going in and out of them, I feel that my recommendation would be to probably keep the 4 lanes currently. I see merits to having the 3 lanes of the traffic calming. The distance between the pedestrian walkway, the sidewalk along that section will give us more buffer. But it's one where I think it's going to be hard for the public to perceive why we made the change. So I guess with that, there's a lot of information in this report for such a small report, and there's some far-reaching impacts here that could be going on. Once again, we are planning on this project being rebuilt in June or July, so now is the time. We would have another month. We could wait another month and look at this, but I think we have to make a decision soon to be able to move forward with the project we have on the books. So I guess with that, open up for questions, comments, concerns. Would you like to see any changes, no changes?
Alder Jurtson? Did you have a,
I read that, I sat down and read the report. The truck traffic looks like it's minimal. I wouldn't recommend that we do anything there. The crashes are low.
Yeah.
For the amount of traffic. The speed, you look at the averages, they're averaging about 35 out there now anyways.
I do believe once we repave the street, I believe the average traffic speed will go up probably 5 miles an hour once we repave the street.
Well,
3 to 5. I think the newer street will definitely help people. Right now, that the street kind of is a natural, with the condition of the roadway surface, it is a natural traffic calming measure currently.
Alder Smith?
Yes, definitely see that the recommendations are based on the findings of the report. 2 other comments to add. I know previously I'd worked with the school up there to promote pedestrian safety. It was and is still a big concern in that area, and I think that this would only help support that. And then also the multimodal transportation and increased space between the sidewalk and the flow of traffic, I think would also be beneficial. So I'd like to go ahead and make a recommendation that we move forward with the 3 bullet points that Jared had described.
You have those bullet points?
Yep, those are you're referring to the 3 recommendations in the end of the report, correct?
Yeah, I can restate them if you want.
Okay, no, that, just as long as we have them written down for the transcriptionist. Okay, is there a second? Motion by Alder Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Second by Jared. Fred?
reason, I think you're gonna confuse the public switching from 2 to 1 back to 2. We have not had any issues over the years that you can put my hands on you, so I'd be very uncomfortable with
Alder Jurtson?
I'm vehemently opposed to changing that out there on the information. The school system up there is a separate entity, and their responsibilities are to supply adequate transportation in and out of there. And the families, I travel that area a lot, and I don't see any situation up there that I would be concerned with. And I'm responsible for safety at school every day. And if it was there, I would recognize it.
think as Jared stated, it's being repaved anyway, so the change will be taking place after the repaving. So I think the public will be expecting it to be different afterwards. So it will be the opportune time if there is a change to be made.
Mr. City Administrator, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I also have concerns about the plan, and Jared and I talked about some of them, the reduction of the lanes 200 feet after the intersection, the creation of a bike lane in the middle of, they're signed, it's their page 2 of 6 of their overview. Also, a bike lane ahead appears and doesn't, go anywhere, end anywhere, just exists. In a nutshell, I think that if there were to be some lane reductions and traffic flow, there's probably ways to be tweaking it that maybe make it a bit more palatable and safe in that direction. But I'm always a firm believer of the warrants, and if something is warranted to make some changes, I just don't see what's warranted to make that changes here, although I do think speeds will increase, as Jared pointed out. It's tough to do 40 on that road right now if you've tried. And as a test, I tried, and it's in bad shape. So I do think speeds will increase. So I think there's an opportunity to see with increased speeds what will be a safe cross-section of that road. But the options that I had thought of with Jared in terms of using it, instead of reducing the lane, but doing it at the intersection prior to Theater Road where you have 2 lanes turn south and then only 1 lane continues on, so there's a natural reduction there. Problem that way is if you're heading eastbound, you have a hill to make that turn, to either merge over to the left to the through traffic up a hill before you get to the auto parts store and the intersection there. So there's no real easy answer, I think, to do that. My concern with the lane ending, where it actually increases speed. There's 2 cars next to each other that are both naturally going to speed up to try to get in front of each other where that lane ends. I think it's counterintuitive or counterproductive. So I have concerns with the cross-section, not necessarily because it's new, but I think the purposes of doing this is to create safety, and I'm not sure that there's methodologies that really create safety, but I'll leave that to the traffic engineers.
Now, we are sending 3 forward, right?
Yes, the current motion is to send 3 recommendations forward.
Right, for the council to act on.
Correct.
Correct, okay. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
No.
Well, I guess, Fred, are you voting?
Voted opposing.
You opposed? Okay. Motion fails. The motion is lost. Item 8, review and consideration of amendment.
We could entertain another motion.
I would like to, for
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
discussion, consider the option that Jared had talked about is, and I understand the slowing the speeds. We can either wait until the road is paved and see if the cars really do speed up, or if we can take action at this point. But for discussion, I'll make a motion to have the speed lowered from 40 to 35.
Second.
Motion made by Finance Director Bueller, seconded by Alder Jurtson to reduce the speed to 35 miles an hour. Discussion. Ron?
Looking at the data, most of these vehicles are traveling at about 35 anyways. And in anticipation of repaving that roadway, 35 seems logical to me there. It sounds like it may fix some of the potential problems that we got coming down the line versus creating more problems. Thank you.
Okay. Finance Director Bueller.
Just for clarification, that's 35 from one end to the other. Nothing
Yeah, it'd be from the currently the 25-mile-an-hour zone starts right where Pet Me Scratch Me is. So it would be from there up to Marketplace.
Okay.
It'd still be 25 miles an hour through the Theater Road intersection like it is currently today.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Item 8, review and consideration of amendment number 1 for East Main Street traffic speed study. Jared.
Thank you, Your Honor. As part of, mentioned as part of the speed analysis, we did have originally authorized this study. If you look at the amendment number 1 in your packet, I did authorize the traffic analysis, which was $1,800, and then the first phase of the drawings that you saw tonight for $1,600. This was an addition of $3,400 to the contract. If we would have moved forward with the 3-lane, I would have also recommended authorizing the $2,400 to finalize the plans. But if those plans do not move forward, at this time, I'm requesting the amendment for $30,400 for the study. That included the looking at the 3-lane versus 4-lane configuration. This would be paid as the study was out of the 2018 capital improvements budget for the roadway project. I'd make a motion for such.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Jared, seconded by Alder Jurtson to move forward with amendment number 1 for $3,400
Correct.
and possible $2,400
If we moved forward, well, right now we're not moving forward, but if it would move forward for the 3-lane configuration to finish the engineering work.
we can do that at council.
We could do that,
So
yeah.
why don't we just leave it at $3,400
Correct.
here? Okay,
Make a motion to approve.
okay.
We had a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Item 9, review and consideration of utilizing consultant for traffic count data collection at Greens Cooley Road and East Main Street. Jared.
We sent out the request for proposals for consulting services for the Green, Cooley, and East Main Street intersection work that was included in the 2018 capital improvements budget. That work, those proposals will be back and taken through the June cycle of meetings. What we realized was included in that work was traffic counts to use as data for the project. What we wanted to do is get traffic counts before school was out. We didn't want to delay the project until September to get school counts. So I had Kevin work on garnering traffic counts data. They actually put out a TV camera for 12 hours, and then it gets put into a computer model, and they can basically take all the counts off of that. So what we have here is we have computer or counts to be done at Greens Cooley Road, East Main, both on-off ramps for the project, because those will also factor into how the Greens Cooley Road intersection is possibly reconstructed, and also the operations of the DOT ramps. They're going to want to know that information. Once we actually got into this, after the agenda went out, we started looking at this, and the cost is very reasonable for what we're getting for information here. Staff is actually recommending that we add 17th Avenue South to this also, so we would actually count at the same time the 17th Avenue intersection, the on-off ramps at US Highway 53 and Greens Cooley Road. So we'd have 4 intersections, and staff is recommending we do those 4 intersections with Gewalt Hamilton Associates for a total cost of $2,880, and that would be paid out of the 2018 capital improvements budget for the Greens Cooley Road intersection preliminary design study.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alder Jurtson to approve funding or the utilization of a consultant for the traffic data, the on-ramp, the off-ramp, the 17th Avenue, and the Greens Cooley, correct?
Correct.
By DeWalt Hamilton
Correct.
in the amount of
$2,880.
$2,880. Is there a second?
I had made the motion and Ron had seconded.
Oh, I see, okay. So the motion was made by
I'm the second, yeah. Ron made the motion, I seconded.
Okay, don't confuse me. I'm very, I'm easily confused, please. Okay, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 10, review and consideration of lunch workroom renovations at City Hall Public Works Facility. Jaren.
You will refer to your packet today. There's a map layout of the Public Works facility that was constructed in 2007. On that map, we've outlined the alterations that we're requesting today. The first alteration is off the main hallway, the installation of a key fob for the door that goes into the office area. Also has a skater room and a lab and the various offices you can see. The second phase of this request is to install a door with a key fob, so it would also be able to be use a key fob to go through that door to go into the lunch break room work area off of the main hallway, main office area. As part of this, you can also see in that map that is included, we'd be moving the conference room to that area. So the current conference room would become an office, trading with the other office. That way the conference room would be off the work break room, lunchroom area, and we could actually be able to go out of any of these offices, go through the conference room and be able to get into the current work area. This work also includes a wall around the break room kitchen area, so that would be partitioned off, and we would also end up with a new work area where we would plan on putting 3 workstations. Currently, if you look at this current map, we have in the center of the building, there's an area labeled meter storage. That has been a workspace that is kind of enclosed in the center of the building for a long time. We're trying to get that area moved out so we have more storage, better working area in the lunchroom. We've also got a labeled work area in the current bottom half of this picture. That would continue to be used for a workroom. With this, we are looking at trying to move all of the current workstations. We've got currently, we've moved into a environment where we are using tablet computers. We don't use as many PCs anymore in our work area. We've got 8 tablet computers that people leave with to do locates. We have the whole Inframap GIS system on there. They're coming and going, so those charging stations would be in this area. We just think after the reorganization of the Public Works Department that occurred approximately a year ago, this would lend to a better unification of using the lunchroom area as a workroom and give us better flow in and out of the office area. With that, I did go through on the next page. If you go to the next page, I did go through, we did receive prices on a variety of this work to be performed. We did receive a price from Gorilla Security that works on our doors and key fobs. Did get a price of $4,864 for them to install the key fobs and install the new door, so that way the key fobs would actually work on that door. We also got a price for installing of the wall and the door opening and the lunchroom workroom. We did receive a low price from Weezer Brothers of $7,650. And then we also have to move around a couple outlets and also some computer connections. So we have some electrical items. The low bid on that was Hoskins Electric at $1,240. Total for the project was $13,754. We did look at the 2017 equipment budget, and we had a project to replace doors in the Public Works facility, 2 doors, and we did some LED light replacement. We would reroute those dollars that were not spent for that project in a total of $8,340 toward this project. We also have in the 2018 equipment budget security cameras. We're still finalizing that project, but even using the higher of the 2 bids we've received, we still have a $3,500 savings that we would then put toward this project. I think that number will actually go down further once we solidify our prices and quotes on that camera project. And then the remainder, $2,000, we would split between the 2018 operating budget between the 4 entities that would be using that area, so we would cover the anticipated costs. I guess with that, I'd open up for questions.
Fred?
Make a motion to approve the renovation. The only comment I want to make, and I'm sure you can get that answered before the council, just to be sure the inspection department has no problem with these modifications.
We have conferred with the electrical inspector and commercial building inspector, and they see no problems with this project. We
Thank
made sure we didn't need a state-approved plan or something for this. They looked at the project. We actually had them up to the Public Works facility to walk through and make sure we had everything covered.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second with a friendly amendment, I guess, not to exceed $13,840.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. I'm going to state it this way, so please correct me if I'm wrong. $4,864 from Gorilla Security to install doors and key fobs and install walls and openings in the lunchroom from Weezer Brothers for $7,650, and electrical items in the lunch workroom for $1,240, for a total of $13,754. So not to expand past $13,840. That's the motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Item 11, review and consideration of Main Street and 12th Avenue South Sand Lake Road traffic report. Jared?
Included here tonight is another traffic report for the intersection of 12th Avenue and Sand Lake Road and Main Street. This was part of the design that was commissioned for the traffic signal upgrades at this intersection. This has been performed by Strand Associates, and it is included in your packet tonight. If you flip to the first page of the intersection traffic volume report, one of the things I'd point out is if you look at the bar graph about 2/3 of the way down in the sheet, is that you can see that the heaviest use is in the afternoon. We do see a little bit of a spike between the 7 and 8 a.m. in the morning, but really between 3 and 6 is when the major traffic volumes occur at this intersection. So with that, we can go into the report, and we had them look at a couple different things here. I'm going to go to page 3 of the report, looking at existing conditions. So existing conditions, the signalized intersection at Main and 12th is currently operating at a level of service B, which is relatively high level of service. I will go down to the third paragraph that says during the PM peak hour, the intersection operates at a level of B overall. All movements operate at a level of B service or better than 95th percentile for the intersection. So currently the intersection is working at a pretty reasonable rate. I will go to page 4 then and go through the 2028 operations. So they tried to project based upon the Metropolitan Planning Organization traffic model, what the growth rates are, and applied them to what the current volumes are for 2028, which was a 10-year design window. I would go down to the fourth paragraph. During PM peak hour, the intersection operates at a level of service C overall. So that means that 2028, with future traffic volumes, we'd still be operating at a level of service C. The next sentence, the southbound left turn movement operates at a level of service D with a 95th percentile queue of 235 feet. So with that future traffic volume, what's currently operating at a level of service B would go down to a D, which is the left turns that are currently southbound on Sand Lake Road, turning to the eastbound Main Street. Those turns do generate the most conflicts at the intersection. They do receive public comment quite often that for request of a left turn arrow at that intersection. We have studied that intersection. We actually had Mead and Hunt study that intersection in the early 2000s. We had SEH study the intersection in about 2010. Now we've had Strand do the intersection, and all three times, even though the traffic volumes have been increasing through the intersection, it's come back with a recommendation to not install the left turn arrow. So with that, we did have them look at alternatives and recommendations, which is shown on page 5. I'm just going to go through kind of those couple paragraphs there. Basically, Strand analyzed adding a southbound left turn lane, protected phase to the intersection, and the impacts to other intersection movements with the 2028 forecast traffic volumes. Adding a southbound left turn protected phase to the intersection decreases the southbound left turn movement delay and queue, but increases delay and queues for other movements throughout the intersection. So basically what they're trying to say is we're going to put the left turn arrow in and sacrifice it the rest of the intersection. I'm going to keep reading because they go into more detail in the next paragraph. With the southbound left turn protected phase, the intersection operates at a level of service C with the left turn arrow. So remember, I just stated that's going to operate at a level of service D without the left turn arrow. So we're not going to increase our level of service greatly by adding it. And this is just during the PM peak hour movement. The northbound through right movement operates at a level of service D with queues of 540 feet compared with level of service B, queues of 360 feet without the left turn protected phase. So if you're coming from Crossing Meadows proceeding north on 12th Avenue onto Sand Lake Road heading north toward Wells Street or the Sand Lake Road toward US 53, those queues, if you do not add the left turn arrow, will be 360 feet, kind of worst case scenario. If you add it, they'll increase almost 200 feet to 540 feet. So as you can see there, you'd be restricting the movement of the through movements to gain that left turn movement. And when you read the report, it's only going to get an extra 3 or 4 cars through that you aren't going to get through otherwise. Just kind of going down here, I'm going to go down to the third paragraph now. Considering the impacts of the southbound left turn protected phase and based on field observations, Strand recommends keeping the same signal phasing at Main Street and 12th Avenue / Sand Lake Road intersection with minor signal timing improvements. And then going down to the fourth paragraph, the traffic signal timing improvements that are proposed will update the vehicle clearance intervals and pedestrian intervals to current Wisconsin manual on uniform traffic control devices standards. Intersection approach maximum green light times will be revised and shortened to allow traffic signal to be more responsive to serving all approaches during both PM and non-peak vehicle hours. So what they're saying is they're going to try and maximize the usage with the timing with what we have. They will update the timing. So with that, what we're looking at tonight is the first of 2 things we want to look at here is how we want it to look once the intersection signal project is done. Do we want to move forward with a left turn arrow or not a left turn arrow? That's the million-dollar question, and that's the question I get quite often, and I'm sure others have gotten from the public over the course of time. I will say if the left turn arrow is not installed, we are going to ensure that the cabinet controlling features of the intersection, there's basically a computer that controls the traffic signal inside of the cabinet, will be sufficient to add it at a future date. We also are going to run the wires from the cabinet up the pole and dead end them in the pole, so all we would have to do in the future is add the left turn arrow at a really modest cost. So those would all be things we would incorporate into the project to ensure that we did have it at a future date. I guess with what's recommended here right now, I think we do not install the left turn arrow. I know it's going to be a disappointment to some citizens, but I think the data once again supports what we're trying to do to keep all of the intersection moving as good as we can for all parts of the intersection.
Well,
I guess I'll open it up for discussion with that first.
I certainly would like their phone number so that I can just route the calls from me right to them. Because I get a lot of phone calls about this.
And I will say I did talk to the traffic engineer. Is it if we decide to put the left turn arrow in, will the intersection fail? The intersection will not fail. It will still operate. I think it's going to be one where, as you see, I believe in being in the community for a long amount of time, looking at our traffic patterns within the community. I think we're going to see more northbound traffic on Sand Lake Road, 12th Avenue, based upon our shopping areas at Crossing Meadows, the employment that is found in the city of La Crosse in their industrial park, that those people are going to new residential growth, not only in Onalaska, but in Holmen. I think you're gonna see more northbound cars in the afternoon as time goes on. So I think it's that northbound queuing movement is gonna get longer and longer as the time goes on.
Okay. Alderperson Jertson.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think we've talked about this intersection before in detail. Upgrading that cabinet, and getting it ready. If we do go left-hand lane there. But the information that we've got kind of says we don't need to do it now. I agree with what you're saying. There's no reason to do it now.
We need a motion of some kind.
I guess I would like to have the board make some sort of motion to say, because I think the left turn arrow is a large part of this project, whether we should go forward with it or not. I think it should have direction.
I'll make a motion that that the report, based on what we see in the report, that we leave things as is at this point for something to look at in the future if necessary.
A second.
Motion made by Finance Director Bueller, seconded by Alder Jertson. Fred, could you recite that? I didn't hear you.
To leave things as is.
That's,
However,
that's
we-
enough right there. Unless you have as is? Okay, we're gonna leave things as is. Okay? Discussion.
As is with the updated timing as outlined in the report with
Okay,
updated.
Is that what you were gonna say, Fred? Okay, then you could have said that when I asked you that question.
And with the understanding that we'll update the electrical within the
That the
cabinet.
box will be,
And with the understanding that we will have the capacity to put it in if the future need arises.
okay. Okay, so we're going to leave it as is with the understanding that we will have updated wiring to the box and to the light itself, should we need it in the future. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Abstentions? So moved.
We're still gonna, I have a second part to this one, Mayor, if I can.
Go ahead.
Okay. We also, as part of the traffic impact analysis for this intersection, we had a construction analysis. So during the time that the intersection will get the wiring completed, we will have approximately a 3-week period where we will have no signal light due to the fact that the cabinet will be removed. We'll have to put in new wiring. There'll be phases where we'll have to switch traffic from one side to the other to get all this work completed. The consultant is anticipating that it's going to take 3 weeks to do this work. We're going to set up the contract with incentives. So we'll have some sort of incentive per day. So if they get it done in each day that they get it done below whatever we think is a reasonable threshold, we'll give them an incentive to make sure that they get it done as quick as possible. With that, we did, because I was, as part of this, when we wrote the request for proposals, we had the consultant look at this due to the fact we wanted to make sure that we did not either expend money that we did not think we needed to do or what options we had during construction. So if you look at this, they had a couple alternatives here, and alternative number one was basically during the construction period of that 3 weeks, we would have a 4-way stop. We'd put stop signs out, close down a couple of the lanes, so we would bottleneck things a little bit. But they basically came back and said with our current traffic volumes, we'd have a level of service C with that happening. Basically, with that assumes that no traffic finds an alternate route. What's going to happen in reality during the construction once the stop signs go up? We saw that when we had the intersection closed down for 3 days this year, in 2017 anyway, because of the water leak we had. We closed down the intersection. You saw that there was people that found an alternate route. It may not have been pleasant during that time that they had to use the alternate route, but they do find an alternate route. So with that, I think the intersection will work with a 3-way or 4-way stop during the construction. It will be an inconvenience. Our alternative that isn't listed in the report is to put up temporary signals. And that'll be a separate bid item. We could do that, but the consultant has stated that would be anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 to put up those temporary signals for that 3-week period.
do it for half.
So, it's either that or you're gonna have to have hire someone to be a traffic, old-fashioned traffic
Make a
person
motion
out
that we have the council direct, no.
So I guess in looking at what the cost benefit is of having the temporary signals in, plus it's gonna make the project longer, because it's gonna take them probably 3 days to get the temporary signals in, so now you got more disruption with temporary signals. It's my recommendation to have the stop signs put out during the 3-week construction with an incentive in the contract to get them done sooner and not spend the money on the temporary signals. I guess I'm looking for input on that.
Is that in the form of a
I
motion?
would make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Public Works Director Holter and seconded by Alder Jurtson to put in stop signs plus incentives to the vendor in lieu of temporary lights. Discussion. Jared?
This will cause heartburn for the public. We will put out a press release, we will put out the message boards beforehand, we'll try and get the word out, but I think this will be, the whole reason we're doing this project is the wiring is 35 years old. If that traffic signal fails and we gotta put the stop signs out and we're trying to figure out how to do something temporary, we're still gonna be in a lot better place by having this project done at the end. It may not look a lot different because we're not changing out the poles, but it's gonna function
Yep.
better once we're done.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Review and consideration of bids received for 2018 cemetery fence project. Jared?
In your packet tonight, I've got 3 fence bids that we received on April 24th for the fencing around the cemetery, continuing over the retaining wall along 12th Avenue and over to the Hickory Street entrance. We did receive the low apparent bid from Phillips Fencing at $55,535, which does fall in within the $60,000 that was included within the capital improvements budget. We did have a bid anomaly. We did have the bid bond and certificate of organization, not with the bid, but it was submitted with their bidder's proof on the Friday before. Did consult with the city attorney, and they stated that that was approvable, and they did not have a problem with that, but just wanted to point that out, that we did have a little bit of a anomaly. But it is staff's recommendation, also with the city attorney's blessing, that we do approve the low bid of Phillips Fencing for $55,535.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Finance Director Bueller, seconded by Alder Jurtson to approve the cemetery fence bid.
Jared, I'm just wondering, you had budgeted 60,000, and looking at those bids, what was it that made the other ones significantly higher than expected?
Our engineer's estimate was at $90,000. I did not think that they would do this work for under $90,000.
Then why did
The-
you budget 60,000?
Because the cemetery committee came forward with a number of 60,000 that they thought it could be done. They got that number from Phillips, and they thought it could be done, and that's what was budgeted. Because it wasn't budgeted to begin with, but at the December capital improvements meeting discussion, it was added back in as a project. With this, and talking to the contractor, we did confirm that we wanted to make sure, A, they didn't miss anything, B, they had a proper methods and means outlined that they'd finished the project. And in talking to the contractor, they have, are more of do a lot of residential work, so they're used to working around obstructions, where some of the other contractors aren't. So they had a lot of money in traffic control for down by the road. So that was one thing that the Phillips Fencing did not include any traffic control, because they're gonna work from the cemetery side, have specialized equipment that they feel they can get in without disturbing things. The other thing was that they wanted to see, as a good citizen and as a good contractor, they wanted to do the project. They told us that they intentionally bid this project at a level where they wanted to be a partner on the project and do that. We don't necessarily know what that number is, because it's a sealed bid and there's no bid item for that, but they did indicate that they wanted this project, and they thought that their number, even seeing the other numbers, they weren't hesitant about doing the work.
Thank you.
Alder Jurtson?
Regarding those bids, that was discussed before, and Phillips won the bid, and that's one thing I do know with working with Phillips, that they're kind of a community-oriented company, do very good workmanship, and as far as the other one, you are going to occasionally run into bids where companies do bid them up, they don't want the work, whatever the reason is, that you're gonna see that here.
Okay. All in favor of the bid of $55,535 for Phillips Fencing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Review and consideration of July meeting date. Jared?
Well, July 3rd, our normal meeting date is the night before July 4th. July 4th is a holiday, so we are looking at, I think they're looking at moving finance personnel and those Wednesday meetings to July 5th. I guess it's up to the board if you want to try and meet on July 3rd or if you want to try and meet at an alternate date. I will be on vacation the week of July 4th, but Kevin Schubert, the Assistant City Engineer, is more than qualified to lead you in a very good way.
Well, then we're going to have to shut the whole city down. You're going to be gone, Jared.
No, don't have to.
Okay.
We're in good hands.
Okay.
Got good staff.
Is there a conflict if we go to the week before?
Plan.
Land Commission's the 26th, Tuesday. If you're gonna go the week before, I would maybe suggest Thursday, the 28th of June. We have done that previous years when this has fallen like this. We've done the Thursday before. I guess it's up to, how calendars are and if people can make that, or you can do Monday, July 2nd. That's another option.
Does anybody have any
Make a motion
strong?
to go on July 2nd.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Sure, because you're going to be gone.
Should probably rescind myself,
Okay.
recuse myself.
Motion that we move the July, oh, did we get a second on that, by the way?
Yeah, I seconded.
Jared did, okay, well, that's right, because I tried to do, I got a great memory, it's just short. July, that we move our July Board of Public Works meeting to the 2nd of July, 6:30 time slot.
Continue at 6:30, correct?
Yep. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Pay estimates, Jared.
6 pay estimates that are attached, dated May 1st, 2018. Requesting approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Fred, or Finance Director Bueller, and seconded by Alder Jurtson to approve the 6 pay estimates. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alder Jurtson,
Second.
second by Public Works Director Holter. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
7:44.
We stand adjourned at 7:44. Thank you.